Hey, everybody, I'm David Bloom with today's Next TMT Talks flagship episode. We'll be looking at how many Americans are now willing to watch ads as their subscription services jack up prices over and over again. Further thoughts on that huge Fox-Roku deal after this week's Next TV. Further thoughts on the Fox-Roku deal after this week's Stream TV show here in Denver. World Cup madness, especially between Thierry Henry and Alexi Lalas. Bumpy NFL negotiations after Netflix snagged an overseas game. Litigation-happy Nielsen loses another round in court against competitors. And our Doritos ads coming to Battlefield and Madden NFL. So this is Next TMT Talks. I'm here with my co-founder, Daniel Frankel. We are the creators of Next TMT, the semi-weekly newsletter. And Next TMT Talks is your podcast where we talk about all things telecom, media, and technology. Daniel, you had some stuff. You did a actually it was a fairly entertaining dive into the fine folks at Hub Entertainment Research who've been at this thing for quite a while. You went longitudinal on us. I mean, it's like, oh my God, he's going back a decade to look at the people's opinions about what they would pay for in terms of advertising and non-ad supported services, and it has changed. Talk about it.
Well, attitudes towards content with commercials in it. For a while, it seemed like there was a backlash. A decade ago, it started getting economically scary in cable TV land. You had all these channels that were just saturating their content with commercials. If you tried to watch the last hour of Shawshank Redemption, and how many times did you get stuck on it trying to surf the old grid? You would. It was 2 minutes of commercials for every minute of action, and I think there was a real
every minute of redemption, we like to say.
So that's just the backdrop of it. Eventually, Netflix became a thing. It became a consumer trend to stream. The pandemic accelerated it, and there was a sort of consumer consensus that we were done with commercials. For a lot of folks, it was a non-starter. They wouldn't go back. Jump forward to 5 straight years of inflation at 2.4% or higher. It's over 4% now. Gas prices are up, over 200% because of the Gulf situation. So there's imperative to look for ways to cut down on the family entertainment budget. Streaming companies, if you look at HBO Max, it's reasonable. I have HBO Max with ads. It's the first time my wife has allowed us to have an ad-supported service. And you do your time. They're spaced nice and even, and they're not too long. So I find it tolerable. The price break is definitely substantial. I think we're paying on promotion. It's $199 for 6 months of HBO Max, but I think it's 60% of the full freight for which you pay for premium without ads. So Hub found over the course of 5 years that the percentage of folks who said they would trade a few commercials for a break on the price on their SVOD subscription increased dramatically. It was, I think, 57% in June 2021, and now it's 69%. Say it's we'll do that. It's okay. So only 70% of consumers.
That's more than a statistical anomaly, I think, is what you might suggest here. It's a real number, a significant number.
Right.
Up about what 25%, something like that. My math's okay.
Yeah, it's this is approximate math. I'll have to stare at it. That's 58% in 21 to 69% here. So 11 percentage points. That's a pretty big shift.
Closer to 20%, but still big. Still big.
What I find is interesting, if you dive back to January of 2016, Hub's just getting started. They do wave 1 of their advertising research report, and they find that 77% of consumers say their favorite thing about Netflix, the thing that is the biggest advantage of watching TV there as opposed to cable or broadcast, is it doesn't have ads. That's 67% for Amazon Prime. This is a more primordial portion or era for streaming, but still, it was at that time it was really important that you didn't have commercials to watch. So just a real kind of shift in consumer trends, a shift back, I guess.
Well, I guess, but the question to me is, what does this mean in terms of actual behavior, emotions, feelings, all that matters. But if they're still paying for the, if they aren't shifting to the ad-supported service, I mean, they all got shifted at Amazon, 200 million or so, magically, poof, became ad-supported as opposed to ad-free still, because they weren't going to opt in for a higher price. Netflix has still got the vast bulk of its subscribers are getting the ad-free version, but its ad section is growing. And you got to think there's going to be more of that stuff, right?
It's generational. If you Hub broke it down by generational cohort, Gen Z and Boomer, nearly 40% say, they won't choose a service at any price that has commercials. They're really resistant to it, and that's only 18% for Gen Z, which might be
much more price sensitive, right?
Right. They don't have as much disposable income, but they also grew up watching YouTube videos and are probably more used to ads.
Well, but yes, maybe they're more used to ads and streaming video, but for 70 years we've had ads in TV, broadcast, and cable, and as you noted to start, we had it at those ad loads were pretty epic before people started going, we might be killing the golden goose here, or just wringing its neck a little too tight with these ads, 18 minutes an hour or something like that, I think was what they were going off at. I mean, crazy numbers. So
yeah, I mean, this is an anecdotal suggestion here, but I do find that the average SVOD or fast service treats advertising a little bit more sustainably. That they're aware that the consumer dissonance is in some cases kind of high, and you could lose active users or subscribers if you go too far with it.
I think some of that is a function of the different kinds of companies in question. So some of it is they've got much more data. They can see what happens when they don't control things like ad frequency, how often the same ad pops up, ad loads. If they don't control those, they see what happens. One of the things that I kept hearing at the conference, I'm sure you did too, was we've got to really watch how we treat the customer. And so we want to make sure that the ads we have are not only highly targeted to the right people, but to do it at a load that's not going to annoy them so they don't want to come back. And so there's an awareness, at least, even among the ad people, that they've got to balance this. And I don't think you ever heard much of that for the longest time from traditional cable and broadcast. And they had less control, less ability to target, less knowledge about what their consumers were actually doing and how they felt about things, whereas you can see the data when you're doing streaming. It's right there. Oh, it dropped off after we did that third ad with, I don't know, Progressives this hour. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, to that point that you just made, I vividly recall that I had a brief tenure that was very informative for me. I worked at the WB promotions department, as I told you, in the mid-90s when the network was just starting out. And one of the marketing mavens was talking about fall promotions, seeing, I forgot what show it was. It could have been Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I don't remember. But she saw a billboard, and then she heard an ad on the K-Rock, and then she, when she got home, she saw on-air promotion. Basically, everywhere she went, the advertising followed her around and stalked her. And to her, she was very pleased with this. This is the way to do it. You bombard your target audience with as much payload as you can and make them aware that you're here. And it is so different right now. You're not trying to carpet bomb anything. You're looking for a specific person that you can, in the most eloquent, coherent way you can, approach with a kind of a common sense, come on.
Right. And that does not necessarily include bus benches and billboards and, the side of subways and things like that, sort of shotgun blast coverage. So I do think that whether it's observed in the breach or in the actuality, the conversations that I heard a lot here in Denver were about, boy, we got to take care of these guys because they will churn out. And we got to make sure they stick around so we have a bigger lifetime value and don't have to reacquire them every 6 months, which is a big deal.
Speaking of Denver, I mean, you could get your company name on a mat that went on the floor. You could sponsor the passcode to the Wi-Fi, which I thought was very effective. Freemantle did it, and I certainly remember that Family Feud just turned 50.
And I just thought that was an invitation to give us your proposition for a vertical series that mines 50 years of Family Feud that we're going to put out everywhere on TikTok and everything else. So we take our, part of the conversations where we've got libraries, we've got AI to help us identify what's in there and extract it and turn it into vertical content and social media content so we can start to really do something with this stuff besides just relicensing the long form original thing wherever we can do that. That's part of it too, but it is far from the only thing. So that's yes. Freemantle should be cleaning up, and Banijay and all those guys.
So you're still in Denver. It's raining buckets or thundering buckets.
Thundering buckets. We don't have thunder and lightning more than about once a year in Los Angeles. Fine by me. I grew up with just, jaw-rattling thunderstorms ripping through towns in Missouri and Illinois and Texas and Tennessee. And I'm okay not having, the threat of, God striking me down. Just having that taken off the table. I'm fine with that. So not that it's made me a better person or anything, but
you don't want God striking you down for being, a bad person, and you don't want a federal judge striking you down for being a bad measurement company. That's a segue. So it's segue.
really interesting. It's really interesting because T-Vision won a case over what was basically an expiring patent to use audio from programs to do automatic content recognition, ACR. And ACR has kind of been a hot thing the last few years. Like, it allows a measurement company to know what's actually being watched in any given minute. Either it's listening or, like with Vizio, they know because they're running the platform, right? So they know what's playing at any single second, and they can measure that. And they even had a whole data wing to track all that and improve outcomes for advertisers and all the rest. And has been doing that for a while. So this was actually, T-Vision got sued by Nielsen, lost the lawsuit against T-Vision. But T-Vision's guy told the Wall Street Journal, look, these guys are just suing to try to make it tough for us competitors to be able to launch new stuff that does a better job than they do in measuring what's out there and who's watching it and for how long and, what the outcomes are. And that's stuff we desperately need, as Dave Bernath of Whirl said in his Tuesday, I think it was, keynote. I mean, goodness knows we need more effective metrics, more effective currency, more effective ways for people to know who's watching what, how the ads are doing, how it's all going. And so that's one lawsuit. But they lost another one against another company called Hypha Media, I think, Hypha Metrics, over two different patents.
This is Nielsen.
Yeah, Nielsen, and there's another suit between Nielsen and T-Vision. T-Vision has filed a counterclaim around Nielsen's alleged monopolistic behavior with 90% plus of the market, basically going after them over some of what's going on. So that's something to watch, I think.
What's interesting about Stream TV, or what was interesting, is you get to a summit, you realize there's more summits to come, and you realize how much you don't know. And one of the things I'm naive about is just how much like, I don't want to say underhanded, but it just seems like everybody's trying to hoard data from everybody, and it should be, in this age of digital wherewithal, an easy thing to get all sorts of information about your content. But if you deal with another big platform, it's a shroud, man. It's no easier from the olden days where you had one resource, Nielsen,
Right.
that you had to pay for. And
Well, this is a little bit of this is one of the, you mentioned Netflix and ad free streaming and all that. This is another, to my mind, another one of Reed Hastings, who's now officially retired, no longer on the board, no longer chairman even of Netflix, the company he co-founded and built into such a powerhouse.
yeah,
But this is another outcome where they hoarded the data that they had, I think in part to keep those knuckleheads over at the networks and the media companies from realizing how much viewership they were getting. Yeah, then, not so they wouldn't get charged more. I think they were just saying, oh, we better not tell them we're doing really well.
right.
You know?
What would
So,
you do? Yeah.
yeah, I kind of understand it, but at a certain point, I remember 8, 9, 10 years ago, there were show creators grousing that they couldn't find out how their show was doing or why they weren't getting more money because they supposedly had a hit, but who knew? So now we're
Yeah,
kind of at this place where everybody holds things close to their vest.
yeah, it didn't get better. It got worse, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. With more players to not come more transparency. And I don't know how that gets fixed, to be frank, because you're going to have people decide that there's a bigger industry-wide advantage to having more transparency. And I don't think we're at that place. I don't know what gets us to that place, but I don't think we're at that place. So
It doesn't feel like content is king anymore. I mean, they used to go around saying that, even if they didn't think it was true, they said it. But I didn't hear it once at Stream TV.
no, distribution, platforms that control distribution, that's definitely the conversation about how you work with those guys. To some extent, though, I mean, there's a lot of conversation about using creators. And I found that interesting. So creators are now, and I say this as somebody who's been covering the creator space for 15 years, 16 years, who consulted on early social media stuff back in the day, wrote a column for Filter for years about the rising YouTube, ecosystem back in the late teens. This has been coming for a long time, and now finally it's like, oh crap, we've got to do more stuff with these guys because they're doing all right. We got those movies doing great, like Obsession and Back Rooms. We got lots of stuff like Mark Rober and Miss Rachel just running next to everything else on Netflix. We got to figure this out. It's like, yeah, you got to figure it out. Maybe 5 years ago, figure it out. So we'll see.
Yeah, one of my kids' coaches was, knocking himself out on a CBS procedural as a production assistant, and he couldn't travel. He's miserable, and I'm like, you know what? You could do this for the next 5 years and not get anywhere.
Right.
There's a better way.
Which is, what's he going to do instead?
Well, right now he's traveling. He got some rare parasite in, I think, Singapore or somewhere, Malaysia. He was in the Far East and got really sick. But he's making music, trying to figure it out. But I don't think he made a mistake by getting off the train. I don't think that old gilding system works anymore. We've talked about this before.
I think you're probably right about that. It's well, among other things, AI has affected the gilding system, as you put it, because it's really hard to figure out where the entry level people provide value besides picking up coffee at Starbucks, right? That's the one thing AI can't do. But otherwise, it's like, what are they doing? This next generation of workers, it's going to be really tough, I think. And it's not just in Hollywood. It's, engineering, and it's lawyers, and it's accountants. It's all kinds of business. So
learn by doing. That's what I think the opportunity is right now.
Learn by acquiring parasites instead of working for a parasite. Exactly. How's that for a life plan?
Spoken like the proletariat.
I hope your son recovers well and the music isn't too fevered. But
no, this isn't a family member. But what else? There was a.
We were going to talk about this World Cup thing. Turns out, it's doing really well. Fox and Telemundo are reporting huge numbers, records. Like each game seems to bring bigger records, and I think even the non-interesting, I don't want to say even not interesting, but teams that are not international brands that don't have a big international following. I think I threw up one for New Zealand versus Egypt, which matters a lot in New Zealand and Egypt, but maybe not so much in like the English Premier League fan base or any of the European teams or so on and so forth. They're still getting viewership, yeah.
Is it double elimination?
No, this is not the College World Series. Oh. The way it works is you got 64 teams in a first round of pool matches, and you play 3 other teams in your pool.
Out of that next level of seeding.
Yeah. Out of that, the top 2 teams in each pool go up, and half of the third place teams go up. So that gets you to 32 teams, and that becomes a single elimination tournament structure, like single elimination, just like college basketball, for instance. So this ain't no baseball. Oh, Iran's still alive, yeah. That particular pool, I think everybody's got ties. I haven't seen the latest scores, but I think it's the first round, all the teams tied, and these guys tied. And, Belgium's looking really terrible, and I say that with great sorrow for my Belgian friends, and I have a couple who I think highly of. And the golden generation of Belgian stars are showing their age.
Well, we all got to get old, Apollo. So the possibility of a U.S. versus Iran match.
1%? It's declining because the U.S., presuming they beat Turkey, which has been eliminated. This is what they call a dead rubber match, which means that the U.S. is in no matter what. Turkey is out no matter what.
But it determines seeding, right?
But it will determine seeding in the next round. Right. It's still a chance that the U.S. will end up second in its bracket. I don't think that'll happen, but it could happen. And if they end up second and Iran ends up second, then they would face off.
How's Mexico doing?
They are rolling. They won their first 2. And, when you play in Azteca Stadium for your first game and your third game, and you're playing Guadalajara Stadium, perhaps the smallest and most intimate stadium, your 3 first-round games, your chances are pretty good. So they'll be just fine. I'm not worried about them.
The hotel we were staying in, it was funny on Thursday night when Mexico was playing. They had like 6 staffers in what is usually the breakfast room. Right. And that's where I was putting the newsletter together, and I had like, kind of like cram off to the side so I wasn't in front of the television set. These guys were not. They were dialed in. I mean, they were. Really
yeah. And El Tri's a pretty solid team. So I mean, I don't think they're winning it all, but home field advantage will take them a fair piece. So we'll see. Once they get up to the Americas, up to the United States, instead of just playing in Mexico, it might be a little tougher road for them and tougher competition. But that being said, I think the best battle, the best matchup is between French superstar, the regal Thierry Henry, and red-headed stepchild, Alexi Lalas, who had a so-so U.S. soccer career. Thierry Henry is probably the best English Premier League player of all time, probably.
So they've turned him into a lovable meathead. Like,
I think Lalas has been a cooperative witness in that process. I'm just going to say, but he says things that make Henri do the French disdain, and it is magnifique. And the online people are just eating this up. There was a piece I quoted in the newsletter this week.
Yeah, I really like this. Yeah,
from the Guardian. It's like, wow, Shakespeare would love this, man. This is just. He goes on about this guy. He says he would totally own karaoke night at a conference for infrastructure finance. And it's like, okay. Let me just
exactly who that guy is. With that,
oh, you know that guy. You know that guy. Yes, it is brutal. Lalas, and then the third guy is another all-timer, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but who hasn't really delivered so much. But he's had a few dismissive things to say to Lalas too. But it's really Henri who's very elegant and again a superstar. Just and he's had a few dismissive looks and not quite sneers because they don't really sneer in France.
Well, David Hill Fox ethos lives on. Sort of the kind of Gronkowski-like bloke.
Oh yeah. Tubi is doing a series called The Other Football. It's an original program that they're doing with Gronk and Jameis Winston, two lovable lunkheads who are very genial, talking about, hey, this soccer thing, what's that about? Do they use feet too? Why do they call it football? But they're doing that on Tubi. It's an original show on Tubi. I saw, what's his name? Adam Lewinson, the longtime chief content officer for Tubi on stage talking about it. So they've got that. They've got another show. But it's interesting. Tubi's doing a fair amount of original programming now. And I think that actually makes a lot of sense. These guys that own all this old stuff need to make some new stuff to get you in the door. And Lewinson's whole strategy is we have some new things, ours and other people's, and that opens the door. And then people come in and they find we've got a whole bunch of content that they can go into a rabbit hole on. And that makes a lot of sense. That's one of the reasons why I think Tubi's done very well. And you strap them in with Roku. Woof.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, are they going to combine Roku and Tubi? I don't know if the brand wins is necessarily aligned, but in terms of selling ads against that monolith, combined or not combined, it's all one.
Right. I mean, you could do all the back office operation merged together. You could sell across both and keep the brands separate. And you think Americans are going to tell the difference? No. So the question would be to me, is there blowback on Tubi for carriage on other platforms who now see them as much more problematic competition?
That's a really good point. Ampere had a good Ampere Analysis, the research company, estimates that at the most, out of 200 or just over 200 combined active users, there's overlap at around 86,000 or 86 million, I should say.
Million.
I know. So you've got, I don't know, at 114 million users.
Unduplicated users.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
No, it's a big target. It's a big target for advertisers. Somebody said at the show, you wanted to get over 200 million because that puts you in the big boy leagues with Amazon Prime, with, Disney, basically, gets you, and certainly YouTube, gets you to a level where the advertisers go, oh, we got to be there. I think it makes them number 3 overall. So across it's everything.
Do you have that kind of reach on Fox broadcast?
No, it's broadcast.
Yeah,
it's broadcast. It's in whatever reach they have, particularly if it's not an NFL game, it's going down, right? So this is a move they had to make, and in credit to them for making it, and credit against everyone who didn't make it. didn't think it was necessary.
I guess Netflix's stock fell because I guess they tried and didn't get there.
Right. Well, the crazy thing was, after the deal was announced, its stock fell allegedly because they were also among the companies talking to Lionsgate to buy Lionsgate instead of Roku, now that Roku's off the table. Buying Lionsgate. I mean, Lionsgate's been trying to sell itself for 2 or 3 years now. I mean, they've been trying hard. It's like, hey, we're available. Hey, let's spin stars off. You can just have one or the other, or each of us, or together, whatever you want. And nobody's been buying. They don't have a great library. They do a fine job. They've got some decent TV shows like The Studio that won a boatload of Emmys this last year, and they did Orange is the New Black back in the day, and a bunch of other stuff. They've got good TV people, but turns out there's good TV people out there. Some of them are unemployed and looking for gigs. Hire them. They don't need to buy.
They had Halle Berry win an Oscar at Monsters Ball. They've had some.
They've had some. Yeah, that was 25 years ago, though. I mean, God bless her. I mean, it was a good movie and all that, but it was 25.
Where does the time go, David?
No, what happened was then Billy Bob went and did Landman the next week. That's where the time went. Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
That should go in the newsletter, that Netflix item, I think.
Okay. But speaking of which, after Netflix locked up that Rio de Janeiro NFL opening week game, apparently YouTube just picked up their ball and went home. Crybabies.
Yeah, according to John Oran, the dean of sports media reporters, they wanted that game, and there were the NFL presented to both Netflix and YouTube 12 games. Between the two of you, choose 5 of them, and with the mindset that they'd split it 3-2. I guess you can't split a game in half. And
that'd be fun, though, right? It's like first half to be found on YouTube TV. Second half, you got to switch over. In between, Apple will sponsor the halftime. This is a new thing.
Oh, that somebody's going to take you up on that.
They just might. It's entirely possible.
You better patent it fast. So I guess
I give away so much good content and ideas, Dan. I can't tell you. Anyway.
I hear you. That's what we do. People just want it for free.
But it's interesting though that they kind of left. It sort of feels like there was a bit of a snit here.
It did have that snitty feeling.
Yeah, and Brazil's a great market. It's 230 million people. It is a very wired country. Has plenty of problems, no doubt about it. Lots of political complications with their former president and so on and so forth.
Wait, I'm confused. It's the Australia game that they wanted.
Oh, I thought it was Rio, but okay. I'll take your word for it.
No, it's the Melbourne game that they wanted.
All right.
I'm actually not sure what happened. I guess Netflix got all of them, or they're just not going to go to Brazil this year. I have to figure that out. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But
yeah. There's lots going on in there, and it's also interesting that Amazon's not really buying. They've got their Thursday nights; those are going pretty well now.
Right.
They've got their Black Friday games.
Yeah, I think when you're doing it weekly, it gets expensive to do one-offs. You can't just take Herb Street, now Michaels, and tell them, hey, you're going to go down to South America next week and come back.
Yeah, 80-year-old Al, who's a real gamer, but come on, let's be nice to the guy. And Herb Street doesn't want to take his dog because it'd have to be quarantine for 6 weeks. That's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So, got to draw a line somewhere. So, speaking of drawing lines, I had a couple pieces about what's going on in the game business. Microsoft Gaming's new CEO continues to make really tough decisions to clean up what has been one of the great names in games, right? Microsoft's Xbox has just not been doing it. Its margin, she and her, the head of, I think their cloud operations, put out a thing to internally, but they also posted it on an official outside facing site. It's profit margin. They call it something else, but it's basically profit margin. 3%. This is software. How do you get a 3% margin on software?
Seems low.
Seems low. That's what Microsoft says. They say we'd like it 30%, 10 times higher.
Right.
So, because that's what they get with things like Windows and enterprise software. Maybe not so much as they used to, but still quite a lot. And so she's trying to figure out how to do a total reset of Xbox, which will be really interesting. Part of that reset inevitably will include layoffs after the fiscal year ends on June 30th in 9 days. So that's unfortunate, but not too surprising. We'll have to see what they do, because this is both the Xbox and the PlayStation have been around for I think 8 years, and the question is there going to be a hardware replacement for either of those?
You mean the current generations?
The current generations, yeah. I mean, among the challenges now, like the PlayStation and Xbox, like their top end versions are like close to $1,000, because all the RAM is now going not to consumer facing game boxes,
to AI.
To AI. So the Microns of the world and SK Hynix and all those guys, they're shifting it all to this high end AI stuff, and they're kind of starving. It'll be interesting to see how Apple, with its new AI conversant phones, navigates the cost of its memory for its phones, and whether those phones go up 10.
Well, you read that Semaphore story, right?
Yeah.
They said they're going up.
So they're going up at a level that's interesting. On the one hand, there's going to be a lot of interest in these devices. A lot, I think. A ton.
Cost of memory soaring around 90%.
Yeah. And Apple has been better under Tim Cook, and going back when Tim Cook was the logistics guy under Steve Jobs. Apple has been better about securing long-term relationships that lock in prices for extended periods of time, lock in cutting-edge technologies before anybody else can get a piece, and they work those into their devices. They've been extraordinary with that. But this is one that's sort of beyond even the magic of Tim, the diplomat Cook, it appears.
Speaking of men that have to have exceptional diplomatic skills to deal with the current administration and walk tightropes, Dario Amodei, I'm trying to get this straight. Maybe you know what happened. So Andy Jassy, CEO of Amazon, calls up the Trump administration a week ago Friday. Not for nothing, but this new Mythos is dangerous. With the right prompt, you can override national security. He basically rats Anthropic out. Trump puts, I forgot what the directive was, but basically take it off the market, at least to foreign buyers. Nobody outside of the U.S. can use Mythos.
Right.
And then,
well, it's Fable 5.5 and the latest version, which is an expression of Mythos, which is their
frontier models,
frontier LLM. So yeah. So and the issue is that exactly what Anthropic's been talking about, which is, hey, this thing can kick butt, and competitors are going, oh, you're just saying that so for like marketing and stuff. But apparently turns out the Trump administration's national security guys, who kind of woke up about 4 months ago when Mythos first trundled down the path, they got a whole lot more involved. David Sachs went out as the AI czar, et cetera, et cetera. This is kind of the next stage. They've got this new executive order in place, which requires a review up to 30 days for things with national security implications. And apparently has those, and that's where they are. I don't think it stops them forever. This is also going to probably hit the next OpenAI LLM expression.
So what was Dario Amodei doing at G7?
Being Dario, it's not just the Trump administration that they need to navigate with. G7 is an economic summit, and a company
this is the most explosive dynamic area of economy right now. globally. So
and they've got to be in all those 7 and a lot more countries besides, and transformative relationships with the heads of those countries, being able to navigate their own regulatory regimes is going to be pretty important. So Amadei's got to be there. I mean, I'm surprised there weren't more AI guys there.
I think Sam Altman was there. I might be wrong, but I think he was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah. More interesting, perhaps, than all of that was coming off the gigantic, ridiculous SpaceX IPO. The company announced it's going to spend $60 billion.
Oh yeah.
To buy Cursor, an AI company they're trying to pull in to fix some of the many things that afflict Elon's AI beast called Grok. So we'll see if Cursor, if that deal goes through, probably, because if you're friends with the right people in the Trump administration, things seem to go well for you. But then can Cursor fix it?
Yeah. Who was it? One of the big financial heads, Ackman, I forget.
Bill Ackman, yeah.
With it's an all-stock deal, so the more bloated SpaceX gets, the cheaper that acquisition becomes.
Yeah, right. Because the value of any individual share declines as they issue more shares. Of course, that also brings into question what happens if the stock market ever actually pays attention to the fact that the only businesses that SpaceX has right now have made about they generate about $14 billion in revenue, but lose $5 billion a year, and their whole bet is on AI that they're not very good at, or landing on the moon. So,
yeah, you read that Atlantic story about the kind of house of cards it's an amazing feat to convince all these people to put all this money in it based on just really flimsy theoretical stuff that we've talked about before, the total addressable market stuff.
That being said, their filings ahead of the IPO included many very pretty pictures of rockets, and we all love rockets, so that was cool. So I want to give Elon all my money because he has pictures of rockets.
Well, if you're in institutional investing, I guess that's already been done, right? I mean, you're
that's pretty much you've bought a bunch of rocket pictures.
Yeah, I think.
And you're going to go to the moon, Alice, to the moon. Speaking of things that are sending people to the moon, EA, Electronic Arts, the big video game publisher, about to be bought by the Saudi Public Investment Fund, one of their sovereign wealth funds, as well as Silver Lake, the big private equity guys, and this guy, Jared Kushner. I don't know if you've heard of him. He apparently is the son-in-law, checks his stuff. Oh, yeah, son-in-law of Donald Trump. It's being bought out for $55 billion. They just announced they have launched EA advertising, which will take a much more aggressive approach to putting advertising in all their games, which include NFL, Madden NFL, the FC soccer games, The Sims, Battlefield. And turns out, while that's really cool for advertisers, gamers think this is pretty much the devil incarnate. And as one of them put, are we going to see Doritos ads in Battlefield? And as a hardcore Battlefield player, God, I hope not. I don't need to see Doritos ads as I'm shooting people's butts off.
I can remember working in a magazine early in my career, and the movie Space Jam was about to come out. And a coworker wrote a passion letter to the head of Dole Fruit complaining that a Space Jam sticker had been put on his banana, a promotional sticker. It was a good letter. But we've come this far that everything is for sale, including the password and your gaming. You can't enter an immersive environment, escape from the toil of the day by playing Madden or shooting somebody without...
Right. They're going to be doing things like putting Jake from State Farm in the stands at Madden NFL.
If you could put him in a first-person shooter, you could shoot Jake from State Farm.
Yeah, but that seems a little creepy because he seems like a genial fellow.
He does.
And it's like I much prefer shooting guys with like night vision goggles and a mask over and a helmet on and stuff. And you don't know who they are. It's okay. But Jake, that's a face we've come to know and love over thousands of hours of State Farm ads over the last decade or whatever it's been. Jake's our friend.
After 96 hours in Denver or whatever we did, I'm still a wreck. Let's shut this down, get this puppy sent, and on to the next one, Dave.
All right. Well, a week well spent. Thanks to everybody we got to meet, and particularly to our sponsors, the several companies who helped us make this all possible.
I want to name them: DirecTV, My Bundle, Looper Insights, Real Good, and DirecTV. Or Acta Technology.
Acta.
They couldn't have done it without you. Easy to work with. A fine group.
And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention Stream TV Insider and its owner Questex, who put on the show and cooperated and partnered with us to do this.
Here.
And so thank you for all of that. As always, it's a pleasure to work with Bevan and Kevin, B and K, the Evans. The Evans were heaven. No, that's kind of pushing it, but close enough.
Shout out to Raw Bros too for helping us out with production.
Yes, Mr. Raw Travel himself making an appearance, and other folks who joined us in various podcasts. Still available on YouTube and in Apple Podcasts and Spotify for free. Can't beat the price. Pretty cool stuff. Interesting conversations that went on throughout the week. All those are up for you all to check out, along with at Next TMT, it's in technology, media, and telecom, nexttmt.com. There are our twice a week newsletters, and this week it's 6 newsletters, but you can get an idea of what was going on that kind of mattered, what was cool, what was happening, and catch up. Even if you weren't able to be there, next year we'll see you in August in Denver, which is considerably warmer. But in the meantime, thank you. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow us everywhere, and we appreciate your patronage and support. This is David Bloom, co-founder of Next TMT and Next TMT Talks, with my co-founder, Daniel Frankel. Over and out.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, there we go.